So we'll look at that when we do the intro,
Yeah,
and we'll just look at each other.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'm fed up of looking at your face though.
What the fuck?
Well, I've just driven 2.5 hours up here with
You didn't look at me while you were driving, you silly bastard.
Well, no, because if I'd have looked at you while I was fucking
So
driving,
why the fuck
I'd
are
have
you
crashed.
moaning about my fucking face when you haven't looked at my face for 2 fucking hours?
Because look at that face.
Yeah, beautiful, handsome. What a beard, look, I even trimmed it today.
Do you think you're MJF or something?
Yeah, fuck
God's
yeah.
gift. You're going to tell me
yeah.
there's not a woman on the planet you couldn't pull? Although actually, with the barmaid last night,
I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, because she's planning what she's going to say, mate. That's what.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hello, and welcome to Scream Masters with me, Bav.
And me, Fluff.
And you may notice there is an elephant in the room. Let's address it right now. Hi, I'm an elephant. No, obviously, there's a video. Hello. Now, we're not going to distance the audio listeners to this too much, so we won't reference the camera, but for those of you that don't know, we're doing this in an audio format and video format. So if you're interested in seeing what this man's lovely face looks like, oh, I've turned the torch on somehow. This man's lovely face looks like, or what this half a face, because I'm covering some of it, so you can't see quite how disgusting I am, then please head over to the YouTube channel. If you go to the Facebook page for Scream Masters, facebook.com/The Scream Masters, and on there you'll find a link to the YouTube page. Go over there and listen, have a look at the video version if you want to. If there's any uptake with it, we may do more, but this is a little tester to see how we go.
Hopefully Pete doesn't break the camera.
Yeah, well, I'm not. The lens still seems intact for now, but we're only just starting, so who knows how long that's going to last.
Sure.
We are up here today at the studios in Cleckheaton, which, if you know the UK, is sort of, well, as far as I'm concerned, being a southerner, it's damn near Winterfell, the Wall. Like, there's White Walkers the other side of the fence. I'm sure that
the north is not that bad.
but it's cold.
Admittedly, it's a little bit nippy. It's a little bit nippy.
Like
but,
the temperature dial didn't get above 1 degree all the way up here.
But it was nippy.
Admittedly, it only started at about 3 degrees when we left.
Yeah, exactly. 2 degrees is nothing.
But as we're up here, I've had a chance to finally see who our lovely new sponsors are. So I'd like to just give a little shout out to the Mill Valley Brewery and Tap in Cleckheaton, who are very kindly sponsoring the Byte Back Media Network in order to host our podcasting platform. So thank you very much to those guys. If you're anywhere in the area or anywhere where their beverages are available, go and try them. I may have one during the next episode because I fancy a beer. Got to see what the product's like, haven't we? And you haven't got to drive back, so you'll be all right.
True, but I'm a little hungover from yesterday. So,
yeah, that's true.
The hair of the dog and all that.
Exactly, I don't like dog hairs. Hey, they're not all gems. They're not all gems. What I tell my kids is keep the quantity coming and the quality will follow. We'll pick the quality out of the thing. But I would like to turn to some immortal words this week.
Oh, go on. So
in the immortal words of Lit, can we forget about the things I said when I was drunk? I didn't mean to call you that. What? And now, we'll move on to our main topic. So, this week, it's a movies episode, and we are going to be talking, you probably read my notes through the camera, because I'm tipping the book forwards, which is very unprofessional of me, but hey, I need a notebook.
I'm keeping my notes down here.
Yeah, I know you are, whereas I'm not sure where the camera's cutting off, so, if I do this, I could get loads of people with that, but I don't know whether the camera's going to pick it up, so we'll see. But yes, our main topic this week is comedy and comedy films. So we're going to take you through our top 5 comedy films. And yes, it is of all time, but they are our personal choices. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't some great things that we're not going to mention. Mm-hmm. My long list is 40 films long. I knocked that down to 10 and then had to pick 5 from that. So it's a horrible thing to try and do, to trim it down. But, I came up with 5 that I was happy to say are my favourites, essentially, which is what it comes down to.
You did kind of give us a bit of a ground rule as well.
Yeah, exactly.
On what we could accept and what we couldn't accept as in terms of straight up comedy.
Exactly.
So that helped, but also hindered it in places.
Indeed.
But, it is what it is.
Because to clarify then, so I said to Fluff, we've got to go for straight comedy, something that's pitched as a straightforward comedy, not something. Well, we both went Shaun of the Dead, didn't we? But we've discounted that, because I'd rather discuss that on its own, as part of a Cornetto trilogy episode or something.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But also because it's not just a straight up comedy. It's a rom-com. It's a zombie flick. You know, it's not just pitching at that main demographic. So, see what you think. I'm sure I break my own rules as we go through this, and I've picked shit that actually doesn't qualify as straight comedy, but we'll see how we go. So, do you want me to start? Or do you want to start?
No, you start.
Oh no, we had news.
Do we have news?
Here's me getting ahead of ourselves. We had news. We were going to, well, not news, but we were going to have a little discussion.
Well, yeah.
Let's do our little intro discussion. So, we're going to talk a little bit. If you want to skip on, if I can be bothered, I might put timestamps in for where you can skip past this bit. But we're going to discuss The Mandalorian. We've seen up to episode 4, I believe, at this point, at time of recording. So we're going to discuss the first 4 episodes, but we will try our damnedest not to be spoilery. I say looking at him with very serious eyes. I've
got a very good. I don't ruin stuff for people that much anymore.
I know. It's just I realised after the Alien one, like Alien Covenant was only 2017. Maybe I shouldn't have gone quite so deep on that one, or should have issued massive spoiler warnings.
General on that whole thing.
I always go balls deep, mate. So let's have a little chat about Mandalorian.
Sure. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely frigging loving it. You know what? It was one of those ones where I was hoping that it would be good, and genuinely hoping that we're going to pull something out of the bag, because we all know the latest film trilogy has been substandard at best in terms of fan appeal. They have done a service to the fans in this one. Now, I know a little bit more about the Mandalorians and things like that, as we've discussed.
Yeah,
because I've seen the animated stuff, I've seen the Clone Wars, I've seen Rebels, so I knew a little bit more about that culture, the everything that kind of involved with their, I don't know, their whole mantra of their warrior lifestyle.
Yeah, so their sort of mythos that goes behind it. Yeah.
So
whereas I don't know any of that, and I strictly approached it as, well, I'm not going to read up on this stuff, because as far as I'm concerned, as a new viewer to this, you've got to educate me on these guys. You've got to tell me about, and to be fair, that's coming. Particularly the 4th episode, I feel we pulled back another nice layer of what's going on.
Yeah.
I think, because, I had criticisms of the first episode in terms of tone.
You did.
In terms of tone, because there is a lot of death in the first episode, even though it's not injury detailed and all this sort of stuff, and you don't see the blood and gore, people are dying, and there are at least 50 people that die in this episode, yet we're pitching this at a PG. I've got to be honest, I was sat watching the episode last night, I didn't give a shit about those arguments anymore, because the show is just so fucking good.
Yes.
And I even realised last night, it's not doing anything dramatically, like the episode setup for episode 4. I don't want to say what it is, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
The setup and the flow of that episode is something I have seen in Stargate SG-1,
correct,
in Star Trek, probably Stargate Atlantis. It's a sort of sci-fi trope episode, really, to do. But damn, I really enjoyed it. And I loved seeing Gina Carano. She's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'd love WWE to sign her just for a little bit, because she's a fantastic actress. And she's got the MMA and action chops to go with it. I just think she'd be so pissing good, but I worry that she'd put the rest of them to shame, because she can talk.
Stop!
I'm going to get a different pen for the next one. Sorry,
Jesus Christ!
I don't know what this is doing on camera either. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and it's like a new. It feels old but new, because I know I'm in the Star Wars universe, not the Star Trek universe, and I do honestly. So you've got that warm, fuzzy sort of comfort feeling of being in a place you recognise, in a world you recognise. But then with these new characters, can we get away with mentioning
the asset?
The asset.
The asset.
We'll just call it the asset.
We'll call it the asset.
Because I do think that if you're any sort of social media bunny, you'll know what the asset is.
Yeah.
But at the risk of people not being social media bunnies, because the streaming service doesn't come over here until March 31st of March, does it? You know, that's when it's going to kick off in this country, I think, and then we'll see all the memes and stuff then over here and the news and that. But yeah, the asset is incredible, and that's such a good hook for the series as a whole. And then it then goes on to play with it. There's one of the episodes where I thought, oh, okay, that isn't the point of this then. We're not going to watch this asset and this guy go along and do this, that and the other. with doing something else. But then, of course, it does come back to where you think it's going to go to, and that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean it's predictable. It means you've set up something and you're paying it off. You know, sometimes predictability isn't because you're writing a basic story or you're doing something substandard. It's because you've set up and foreshadowed things that are going to pay off later on.
Yeah, most definitely. And
that doesn't make it, predictability, that is foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That is good script writing, I would
We've
argue.
seen that, I think, within the first few episodes. We've seen things which we won't necessarily see pay off in the next episode, but certainly by the end of the season, there will be consequences for certain actions. The acting has been fantastic in it. Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian. As an actor, and they turn around and go, by the way, we're not going to show your face.
Yeah, at all.
At all. Literally, you're going to wear a helmet throughout the entire thing. I mean, Tobey Maguire can get away with like 5 minutes without ripping his fucking Spider-Man mask off. This guy has just gone, fair, I'll do it. And he's fan-fucking-tastic in this. The fact that people like Dave Filoni, who I know from the animated stuff, he knows this world so very, very well. Just the little nuances of just when they're walking into dingy bars and stuff like that, and in the back streets and stuff like that, how dark it is and rustic, and how that all looks is absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and I mean that's another thing to say. I think is the set design and it looks like real sets to me. Yeah. It doesn't look like CG bollocks that we would have seen in the prequels.
The one thing I was going to say, the lack of CG in this for me is huge.
And it looks pretty good when it is, because there's the whole thing with the big beastie things early on, and they look really, really good. And there's a sequence with his, someone gets their arm trapped in its mouth and it's flinging them about, and I was like, that looks really good for a TV show at the end of the day, Obviously there's a massive budget behind it because it's Disney, but
But that's the thing, I think in this case they put a budget behind it, knowing that this was going to be the first Disney Plus new series. There's something that they can shine a light on and go, have a look. I mean, the subscription count for Disney Plus is shot up the roof already because of it. They had expectations, they've already broken those expectations. Understandably so. And we're only we're halfway through. I think it's an 8-episode season. 8 episodes, So the fact that we're already halfway through and I am itching at the bits.
Oh yeah, like I said, but new episode, I'm there. I want it.
You are aware that it's already been picked up for season 2.
Oh good.
Just to reaffirm that for you, just so that we all know that we're further down the line. But
nice. So yes, if you're not watching it, watch it if you have the ability to. If not, wait till March, and then I'd suggest watching it because I think it's fantastic.
Hopefully, Gav, that we didn't ruin that enough for you.
Yeah,
cheers, Will.
We tried. So, into our main topic then. Where do you want to start, or shall I start?
No, you start.
I'll start. Okay. So yeah, I had a long list, and I've actually got notes on a film here that I'm not even going to discuss because Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap.
Yeah,
was one of the ones.
We discussed.
I wrote 2 pages of notes on that, and then actually realised that it was number 6. It wasn't even 5. So I've had to go back and rejig it a bit. So let's have a look. You see, in order, I'm going to start with this one. So, again, as we were looking through, when I was putting a long list together for this, there were certain actors, actresses, certain directing duos, writing teams, or groups together. I was like, I've got to have one of their things in there.
Yeah.
And Monty Python is one of them for me. I love Monty Python. I always have. It was the first sort of random stuff I saw. And it really connected with me because I'd not seen anything that was like that. It was all quite structured, whereas it's not the structure, it's the randomness of the comedy and the elements they pick on. So I'm sure a lot of people are screaming, Life of Brian, Life of Brian! I like Life of Brian, got no problem with it. I like Holy Grail, got no problem with it. But for me, I think it's just because of when I saw it and how much it impacted me at the time. Meaning of Life is the one for me. Monty Python's Meaning of Life from 1983. I like to say, I think when you look at the 3 main Monty Python comedy films, you've got Life of Brian, which is very much a narrative experience. It's, there is a proper plot line running through it, and the comedy is sprinkled throughout. Holy Grail, the narrative is still there, but there are certain sequences like The Black Knight, The Knights Who Say Ni, which strike me as being sketches that have sort of been crammed in there a little bit to try and fit in with a narrative, So we're going more towards that. And then by the time they did Meaning of Life, they just went, right, let's have a flimsy narrative thread of going through the stages of someone's life.
Yeah.
And we'll just pitch a load of sketches around it. And again, maybe that's why it gels with me, I don't know. But that's my favourite. And I mean, the problem with writing these is you just find yourself wanting to reel off lists of gags and sequences.
Oh, I know, it was
stuff,
very hard not to make lists of the running jokes.
And this is what made me decide on this one, because when I think about it, yes, I know your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries and all that from Holy Grail and various other bits. But do I need to stop? Nope. Okay. But you then I found that the bits were sticking with me were things like a sequence called Find the Fish. And there's a whole sequence there's a sequence in a restaurant with a character called Mr. Creosote, who's just this huge fat man. He walks in and is like, "Oh, I want everything," and just orders everything on the menu, and then starts being sick, and then, "I'll give me a bucket," and then there's a lady cleaning up the sick while he's being sick on her, and he finishes his meal, and then John Cleese, I've just always forever had him in my head going, "But sir, it's just a wafer thin mint. It's just a wafer thin mint, sir." And of course that makes him explode. And then there's a bit straight after that, as they're cleaning up from that, Eric Idle comes up to the camera as a waiter and is like, hey, do you want to see something? Follow me, come on. And this sequence goes on for about 5 minutes of you just following Eric Idle down streets, through countryside, and then he just leads you out to the middle of nowhere, and there's this house over his shoulder, and he's like, see that? It's where I grew up. What? You don't like it? Well, fuck you! And he just walks off the camera, and I'm like, this is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I think that's what it is for me, because I was so young that seeing this sort of completely ridiculous stuff just tickled me in a way that I'd not been tickled before by comedy, I think. I always remember there's a bit at the beginning where they're doing live organ transplants, and Eric Idle takes a woman off comes out of a fridge, I think, and then starts singing a song with her about the progression of life and stuff. But I always remember the last line in it is, "You better hope there's intelligent life somewhere out in space, because there's bugger all down here on Earth." Again, lines like that stick with me, and I think that's why that particular film makes it, for me, for the Monty Python stuff. Up until a week ago, I was going with Holy Grail.
But as we discussed briefly when we kind of touched on a couple of these, like, our tastes have changed dramatically as we've matured.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not matured too much.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
But, as we've gotten older, certain tastes, certain films, appreciations of things like completely change. You look at one thing that you used to think, that used to be my least favourite, and then suddenly you flip it on its head and it turns out, actually, I love that the most.
Yeah.
It's the little nuances that you didn't recognise when you were younger. You rewatch it and you go, oh shit, that's hilarious.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think back to those, and I'm like, because Meaning of Life I found myself, Holy Grail, Life of Brian, I was told to go and watch because they were great examples, and I adore both of them, but for some reason that one sticks in my head and therefore makes it to number 5 for me.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Okay, so for me, my first one, again, in a similar vein of, thinking of actors, directors, people that I remember watching films of and just thinking, fuck me, that's hilarious. So in this case, I picked a John Hughes film with Steve Martin and John Candy, Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
Yeah, which was on my long list. Easy on my long list. Probably in my top 10, I think that was. Yeah,
I mean, this was.
I think I would have chosen either that or another film that you're going to come to later.
Yeah, more than likely. But not that we've cheated this week and we had to refer to each other just in case.
Oh, we did refer to each other just in case. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just
we always have to.
Saying to the folks at home. But I mean, this was one of the. It's hard to remember some of the films when I was younger because I had a massive video library. Like when I was, as we discussed before, I had a massive video library when I was growing up. So I had my access to so many fucking films. But this was one of those gems. Now I love the late great John Candy. I mean, the guy was fucking phenomenal. And I just look at,
like I said, when we were looking through the list, I was like, I can't have John Candy.
No, exactly. I mean, you look at the body of work that he did, and I just think, Jesus Christ, if you'd still been around, what could you have done after that? the way he plays off with Steve Martin is absolutely fucking fantastic.
Yeah, there's no chemistry like that, was there?
No, there wasn't. But that's the thing. To begin with, you've got just look at my nose. So you've got Steve Martin is kind of an account executive, whereas John Candy is just a shower curtain ring salesman. They could not be more polar opposites. One is a very straight-laced executive.
Yeah.
The other guy is a bouncing around the country salesman.
Yeah.
And it's just the interplay between them. One guy takes everything very, very seriously. He's urgently trying to get home for Thanksgiving to see his family and all the trials and tribulations he goes through. And the other guy is just kind of like laissez-faire, just going through life. Obviously, as we go along, we learn a little bit more about him, and we learn that his life doesn't necessarily seem as rosy and peachy as it is.
Yeah.
But it's the interplay between the two of them, all of the silly things. It's just having a look here. Yeah, trying to board the same plane diverted due to bad weather. Fine, there goes the plane out the window. Okay, we're going to board a train. Okay, we're going to separate now. We're going to get on a train. I'm going to go this end of the train. You're going to go that end of the train. We've had a bit of a disagreement. Okay, fine. Oh wait, the train breaks down. He sees him carrying his case and he's like, "Here, wanders over, picks it up and helps him carry it and stuff." So already you can see a bit of a camaraderie between the two of them. That was it for me. When you see that, even though this guy looks up and he's just like, he's not going to come and help me, he walks over and he helps him pick up the case, and you're just like, because there's a bit of good in you, and there is a similarity to the pair of you. When they're trying to get some money, they're trying to raise some money, because at this point, John Candy's character doesn't have any money to get a train ticket, so he then starts selling his shower curtain rings. And I mean, it's just hilarious, because he sells
in the first place, a shower curtain ring salesman.
Yeah, exactly. and he's just like, "Ooh, look at these. Ooh, earrings. What the fuck? What the hell?" And he sells it to this little teenage girl, and I'm just like, again, it's just the salesman there of him. That he can sell anything to anybody. The fact that they then finally get into a car, or they have it again and falling out, and then they go their separate ways. And there is the bit where Steve Martin goes back to the rental place because he's gone out in the sticks. He's gone to the where the car should be. It's just an empty space.
Yeah.
He then has to lug all of his shit all the way back. He has to walk all the way back from the terminal because the bus is gone. So he walks back there, and it's his, "I want a fucking car right fucking now." And you can just see his tension is slowly building up. And then John Candy arrives to help him out and drives. I'm not going to go too much into it because it's one of those films that I love.
The sequence that always sticks with me as well is the one where they're driving and they go between the two buses,
Yes.
the two trucks.
Yeah, and
God.
that's where, so John Candy's sitting there, Steve Martin's asleep, and then he's sitting there, and then suddenly Mess Around comes on the radio, and he's just like closing his eyes, and he's just playing the piano and doing it, and then suddenly goes down the wrong side of the street.
Yeah.
But it's also that vision of when they're sliding down the middle of these two trucks.
That's what sticks with me. Is the visual
Steve,
image of
Steve
their
Martin
faces.
just looks over, and then John Candy just turns into the devil, just laughing at him, and it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
And I'm sure there's a bit where they're skeletons.
Yeah.
And they're just going, skeletons and stuff, and it's so funny, that sequence. I love that.
And that's it. I mean, they carry on. They share a hotel room. They have a little bit of a tiff, but then they also kind of find a bit of a kinship together, and then it's just like the next day they're driving down in this completely burnt out car by this point. Completely burnt out. No roof, no windows, no nothing. Literally an engine and a couple of chairs. And then they're driving down completely wrapped up with all their winter gear, and then they get pulled over by the police, and they're still smiling like, "Hi!" Yeah. And it's just that image. For me, it was quintessential 80s comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, it's that old thing of these two guys, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And you still see it now. 21 Bridges has just been released, and that's the same thing. Sienna Miller's straight-laced cop. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Black Panther.
Chadwick Boseman.
Thank you. Chadwick Boseman is he's sort of a rogue cop who likes to pull his gun out at every opportunity, so he's very different to her. And it's the chalk and cheese, and how do they go? So it's still a trope we use now. But it can just be used in so many different ways, and those two, God.
That's it. You look at so many comedy duos, and sometimes you look at this shit these days. As we've discussed, comedy seems to have kind of taken a backseater very much these days. Like you don't get the stuff that you did back then, but instant chemistry between two great actors of the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I'd say that one would have been on my long list. Would have been on my top 10, I think, definitely.
Over to you.
Over to me. So, which one should we go for next? I think that one's got to go, number 2. Okay, so for number 4 then, Spaceballs.
Okay.
1987.
One
Mel
track and
Brooks.
you
Because
film to
again,
another.
here's another one. Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta have a Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
I love Blades in Saddles, Young Frankenstein's called, even Silent Movie that I hadn't heard about until about 10 years ago. I went and watched. I love it, and I love his take on the parodies and how he does it. So Spaceballs is a parody of Star Wars, for anyone that doesn't know. And by the way, with all of this, the reason we're trying to stay spoiler free is because we want you to go and watch these. We don't know how old you are, people listening to this. There could be youngsters. If you've not seen this stuff, go and watch it, please, because it is pissing hilarious, and I will guarantee you now that it's funnier than any of the Hangover films. Okay? Go and watch it.
Just to check, it is Star Wars, not Star Trek, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
You know, I nearly wrote Star Wars / Star Trek parody, and then I was like, no, I don't actually think...
No.
I can't think of any Trek references in there, so we're just going to stick with Star Wars.
Just making sure.
Fuck you. But again, so this is, it's a parody. There's a Druish princess who gets kidnapped by, is running away, and her dad wants Lone Star, Han Solo, to pick up his daughter and return her to Druidia. He owns some money to Pizza the Hut, who is brilliantly voiced by Dom DeLuise, which is something I never realised. And again, he was in here, and I love the Cannonball Run movies, both of them, and him and Burt Reynolds are another duo that I could just watch all day. Their interplay in those films is incredible. I'm going to kick myself for the rest of my life for not putting Cannonball Run in here, but that's fair enough. We'll do that another day. Again, the humour is, because it's not just the Star Wars parody stuff. Yeah. It's you've got fourth wall breaking, which is hilarious. There's a sequence where they try and find out what the goodies are doing. So they get the VHS tape of the film and put it on so that they can find out what they're going to do next. Yeah. And it's Rick Moranis and George Winter or Weiner. No, I'm sure there's not a T in it actually. It's George Wyner, I think, or maybe there is a T. Anyway, him. Those two. There's a couple of sequences. There's a bit that I've written down, the asshole sequence, but there's a bit on the ship with the word asshole that plays out, and it's how quick Rick Moranis and George Wyner are at just playing you're batting the ball back and forth, building the comedy through it, and how quick they are with their responses. And it's that sequence with the VHS, because Rick Moranis is going, but when was that? Was that now or is this then? And when will then be now? And he's just, George Winter's just firing back at everything he's saying with the perfect answer, and he's like, but when will then be now? And he's like, soon. And then they turn back, and it's like, it's so funny. You've got, I mentioned him before, but Michael Winslow, who's the black guy who used to do a lot of the noises back in the day, Police Academy, he was in, which doesn't hold up as well as I thought it might. I did watch it for this, because I remember them really fondly.
A couple do, not all of them do.
I realised that there's a couple where the team is, I like the team of people in them, because you've got to have the weird voice guy, and you've got to have Michael Winslow, and then I always really liked the big built woman that was always a badass, and kicked ass and stuff, and then Lloyd Bridges being the captain. So you've got to have that right mix in, and Gutenberg. So you've got to have the right mix in there for a couple of them, but the whole thing doesn't hold together as well as I hoped. But he's in a sequence where the radar gets jammed, and I'm just going to leave that there because that in itself is a hilarious sequence. I've written down merchandising. What do you do here, Yogurt? Merchandising! What is it? Spaceballs the flamethrower! Spaceballs the toilet paper! And then throughout the rest of the film after that sequence, everything is Spaceballs the toilet paper, Spaceballs the bed sheet, Spaceballs the... It's so funny. And what is the line he says when they leave him? He's like, oh, well, God willing, we'll all meet up for Spaceballs 2, the search for more money. Yep. It's fucking brilliant. Oh, there you go, there's your Star Trek reference. The search for Spock. So, the in this, and comb the desert, that's another sequence. I want you to comb the desert! Yeah. Again, go and watch it.
Yeah, just watch it.
That's hilarious. Bill Pullman as Lone Star, love him, think he's great. John Candy, so this is where my John Candy comes in. He plays Barf, the Chewbacca of the group, if you like. And I didn't realise until this time that Joan Rivers voices the robot Doc Matrix.
Really?
Yeah, man, there's Joan Rivers voicing that.
Jesus.
And then you even get an Alien parody at the end with actual John Hurt coming back for his Alien parody, which we probably mentioned in the Alien episode, so sorry.
I think we talked about its influence.
Exactly,
I think we did bring up
Spaceballs. Yeah. One thing, I mean, you know, it's fantastic. That's what it is. It's a Star Wars parody. Don't watch it if you haven't seen Star Wars, because you probably won't get some of the references. But I would argue that Star Wars is enough in the modern zeitgeist of pop culture.
Oh, most definitely.
Still, that you probably could watch it, and because you've seen the pop culture reference points that it's picking on, you probably get it. Mm-hmm. And like I say, some of the comedy isn't about that anyway. It's the comedy built around it. But there's a bit I noticed, and this is just me. I don't want to say hack theory because that's gimmick infringement for another YouTube channel, but I've got a theory. Mm-hmm. It might be bunnies. There you go, Buffy reference for anyone that wants that one. The Buffy musical.
Oh, okay.
I've got a theory.
It's been a very, very, very long time since I watched any of that.
That's Anya.
Very, very long time.
Because Anya hates bunnies.
Okay.
It's in the musical episode. Oh, come on, the musical episode.
No, yeah, it's been a very, very long time, you know.
Yeah, I know, but the only reason I don't
now?
suggest a Buffy episode is because we probably have to watch most of it again, because I don't remember it, and there's some great episodes, but I'm not watching the whole thing.
There's a lot of tripe there as well.
I think what I might do is look up the Joss Whedon directed episodes, because there's one, The Body, where her mum dies.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic, yeah.
Hush is another one, where the voiceless villains and stuff. There's some great episodes in there. Anyway, digress. There is a bit where they're coming into land, and his call sign as Lone Star is Eagle 5. In Independence Day, Bill Pullman's president, when he's in his plane and goes off for the final battle, is he Eagle 5? I think he is. I think he's Eagle 5.
You'll have to find out and let everybody know whether that is.
Hey, there's a pissing comment section.
Interaction.
If you're watching this on YouTube, down there somewhere is the comments section. Leave us some comments. Let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? I mean, I think it is Eagle 5. Whether they did it deliberately or not, I don't know. But
there's never any kind of ignorance for that kind of stuff. You know, if they did it deliberately.
Exactly. Come on. In my head, that's what happened.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Spaceballs, 1987, Mel Brooks. Go and watch it. It's awesome.
Right, so back over to me. Right, so let's have a look. Okay, so I'm gonna pick. No, I'm gonna stick with the 80s theme at the moment. I'm gonna stick with the 80s theme because we discussed this one. So another 80s film, Trading Places.
Yeah, and that very nearly made it to my top 5 because that's one of my favourites.
I mean, this again, right? So you've got Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy.
Dan Aykroyd, really?
Dan
Aykroyd? Is he?
I'm still a little hungover. Give me a small yeah? Jesus.
Sorry, I didn't mean to lean into the mic as I laughed there. That was probably horrible for any audio listeners.
Yeah, that's fine. So Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, even Jamie Lee Curtis in this is actually quite funny in places. Mm-hmm. And you don't, aside from say A Fish Called Wanda, you don't look at Jamie Lee Curtis as chops in that, don't you? Yeah, exactly. So, this film is just straight off the bat hilarious because you've got Dan Aykroyd being the completely snobby, rich Wall Street guy that basically has everything. I'm not going to say everything handed to him on a plate because we don't know but he's got a very nice house, he's got a very cushy girlfriend, and he's doing very well in his job. And then you've got Eddie Murphy, who's basically weeding along on a skateboard, busking, trying his best just to get enough money for a meal. And then the two brothers. Which are the Duke brothers. The Duke brothers. And they have the $1 bet. Yeah. That they can turn that guy into that guy, essentially.
Yeah, which is it My Fair Lady, where they try and turn the high school geek into it's not high school, is it? It's olden days. Yeah. They essentially try and take a poor person and make them look survive in high society, which has then been done. There's like a 90s comedy. It wasn't even that long ago. Is it She's All That?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I remember the one. Yes,
because I remember Not Another Teen Movie takes the piss out of that
She's
film,
All That.
doesn't it? Yeah, She's All That is a modern redoing.
Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's it.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar pops up in briefly.
That's the one. That's what I'm thinking of. Which again, so it's a story we're familiar with. But again, you take that idea of I'm going to make this person that and that person that. But we're now in the world of banking, and we're as well. What you've got there is a black guy and a white guy. So that's an interesting dynamic in the first place.
Yes, most definitely. And for me as well, the crux of this is that they got it right. So yeah, like I said, it's the fact that they get this right in the respect of you don't suddenly have Dan Aykroyd suddenly being okay as a poor person. You don't suddenly get Eddie Murphy being okay as a rich guy. They both still have their issues with it. Dan Aykroyd suddenly has to deal with the fact that he has no money. His friends don't want anything to do with him. His girlfriend has moved on. You know, he tries selling his watch. He's like pawning it, and he's like, it tells the time in like 4 different countries, and they're like $100.
Yeah.
He's like, do you know what watch this is? The guy doesn't give a shit. It's a watch to him. You got Eddie Murphy, who's still unbelievably, completely devoid of any understanding of what's going on, just tries to steal everything in the house that he's staying in, thinking, I'm going to get booted out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, no, this is all yours. And then that understanding finally sinks in. And what is hilarious is they both end up doing quite well at the other's life. Eddie Murphy ends up being quite good at this future stock exchange.
Yeah.
Alright, Dan Aykroyd kind of doesn't deal very well with being a poor person, but you know, you suddenly have the Bad Santa scene as well, where he suddenly, I don't know whether that foreshadowed the film Bad Santa, but he comes in a Santa suit and he's like waving a gun, he's completely pissed, he's putting fish like salmon into his, and it's just hilarious. It's just so fucking funny. And then again, you know, eventually the spin comes on that they kind of understand that they've taken on each other's lives, and they come together to kind of get the Duke brothers back. I don't want to say too much more on that because again, another film that I encourage people to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there are so many quality 80s comedies.
Like you say, around that time, because again, I was always looking around that period, like you say, Planes, Trains came to mind, Trading Places came to mind, Brewster's Millions, which I didn't realise was a remake until quite recently with Richard Pryor.
Correct.
There's one with him and Gene Wilder. But one of them's blind and one of them's deaf.
Hear no evil, see no evil.
That's it.
Somebody brought that up to me yesterday. Somebody turned around and said that to me yesterday. I was like,
So
shit,
good.
I didn't even think about that.
That's it, isn't it like that? Because I list of 40, and still I'm going around and people are going, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, shit, I didn't write that one down.
And what I love about this is the end bit as well, on the train where they're all sitting around and they're trying to do these foreign accents. It's like, and he's just hitting him. And it was just hilarious. The guy, you know, ends up getting raped by a gorilla. And you just kind of dismiss that, and you kind of look back and go, the guy gets getting raped by a gorilla. And then basically gets shipped off to another country. And you're just like, holy shit. But what I love, the fact that obviously Eddie Murphy's connection between this and Coming to America.
Boomerang, that was another one.
Is the fact that the Duke brothers, who end up broke, without giving too much spoiler away, broke by the end of this film, turn up in Coming to America.
Don't know that.
Yeah, there you go. So there is a scene where Eddie Murphy's character, the Prince of... Oh, that's going to annoy me now.
Same here.
Oh, that's really going to annoy me now.
It's alright, I'll shout to our top production team. Production team!
Yeah, that's...
Production team! What country is Eddie Murphy from in Coming to America? He's the king of what?
Something or other? Oh,
he's the Prince of Cubic Zirconia.
He is the Prince of...
You see? That's exactly it.
Yeah, I know.
Should have done your research.
Yeah, I know, well, it just popped into my...
You know, I'm going to Google this shit.
Yeah, thank you.
Google that shit. We're just going to get a
I don't know whether you saw them on camera, but that was Wayne, who is our usual editor, as everyone knows. So if you heard him, hello, that was Wayne. And then also Dave, who's... Zamunda, there we go.
Prince of Zamunda. Thanks, dude.
So that was Dave from our sister podcast, Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure. Just to plug that.
So yeah, the fact that he's the Prince of Zamunda and he is walking one day and he just gives, he gives these two homeless guys a little bit of money, busking on the street, and I can't remember, he gives them like $1,000 or like $1 million. He gives them a ridiculous amount of money, and then they look at each other and are like, yeah, we're back. And it's the Duke brothers.
Ah, fantastic.
No,
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Awesome.
Right.
So he tied them together.
Yeah. There you go. Right, so back over to you.
Okay, so, see, is putting a film from 2010 in your top at number 2, is that too much? Are people going to kill me for that?
It's your list, it's nobody else's.
It is my list. It is my list, and watching it the other day, I did absolutely wet myself again at some of these sequences. I mean, not literally. I don't know why I'm pointing, there's no stain, but for audio
I don't
listeners.
know why you're pointing at your crotch.
I don't know, because we're actually on camera now,
yeah.
so if I do point at my crotch, people can see me pointing at my crotch.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't do that.
You're not doing like a
So-
DX kind of suck it.
I'll go
Wrestling throwback there. Wrestling throwback
You're
there.
getting in on the wrestling references too. Go on, I'm going to go with this one then,
Go
because
on.
yes, I did watch, the other one is going to go number 2. So number 3 would be Airplane
Okay.
for me.
Yeah.
Again, this was another team, the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams, and I had to have something from them because I adore the Naked Gun films, apart from the third one, which is a bit shit. But thankfully I discovered that actually those 3 guys didn't really work on the third one. They sort of bailed. And this is the other thing, as I was looking through it, I did a bit of research on them all, because Jim Abrams was the writer and then Jerry and David Zucker were the directors. Mm-hmm. And they did Airplane. They didn't do Airplane 2. They did the first 2 Naked Guns, but didn't do the third. And actually they sort of split off after this. There isn't really a huge amount more after that they did together, because I thought they did Hot Shots. And actually, only 2 of them did Hot
I was
Shots.
going to say, yeah.
So, because like Jerry went off and directed on
was
his
the one with
own.
Charlie Sheen, was it Hot
Yeah,
Shots?
that's it.
Yeah.
And Hot Shots Part 2.
But
Which again, nearly made it into my list, but I prefer
I
Airplane.
considered them, but nowhere near the top.
Yeah, I prefer Airplane. But yeah, they sort of split off and did things, and unfortunately David Zucker ended up doing pissing Scary Movie 3, 4 and 5, because they brought Leslie Nielsen in, hoping, and Charlie Sheen, hoping that they would be able to do something with it, and it just obviously never worked because it was shit. And Jim Abrams wrote 3, 4 and 5.
By then, I think
I know.
their peak had been gone.
They'd been and gone, absolutely. However, I did discover that David Zucker directed Basketball, which was Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. Foreshadowing. So yeah, obviously you've got Leslie Nielsen. I mean, so just to backtrack then, if you don't know what this film is, it's a spoof of 70s disaster movies, as I understood it. There's Airport 75 and then Airport 77, which I think was a Concorde. So they were, disaster movies set on a plane that were very straight, very serious. Mm-hmm. In researching this, I actually discovered that it's based on a 1955, I think it was, film called 0 Hour. Mm-hmm. And actually, in that film, the plot plays out exactly as it does in Airplane.
Oh, okay.
There's fish or meat. The fish is off. Half the crew, most of the people eat the fish. All the pilots eat the fish. So they have to get one bloke out of the back to come and pilot the plane. But he hasn't flown since World War II, and he had a really bad time there, so he's struggling with the PTSD of the situation, and he has to come up and try and fly the plane while his ex-general is on the ground trying to talk him down, but thinks he's a bit of a failure. Right. Which is exactly the plot of Airplane.
That's it. I'm just like, this is sounding very reminiscent.
I didn't realise, because I just thought it was a straight spoof of Airport 75 and 77, But yeah, it's an absolute classic. The reason this makes my list is the sheer volume of gags. There is literally a joke every 10 seconds, whether you're aware of it or not, because you need to watch this film multiple times, because you've got sight gags going on at the same time as dialogue gags. And then sometimes you've got background dialogue that you need to pay attention to because it's plotting, maybe, and then a foreground gag going on. Sometimes you've got all 3 happening at once. It's fucking ridiculous, but hilarious. There's bits where Lloyd Bridges, I noticed this time, I'd never noticed before. He plays the sort of airport, the owner of the airport, whatever, running of the airport. And he walks over at one point to his desk and stands and pulls a pose, and over his right shoulder there's a picture of him pulling that exact pose while stood at that desk. I've never noticed before, but it's just that quick visual comedy in the background. But you don't notice, because he's doing his line that goes all the way through, which starts with, I picked the wrong week to quit drinking, then gets to, I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue, and then goes on and on from there.
Yeah.
So he's doing that gag in the foreground, so you don't really look at what's over his shoulder, So yeah, the jokes are relentless. So yeah, I could spend all day listing the jokes, but I won't. There's the classic Shirley is probably my favourite from this.
Yeah.
Twice that happens, and that's Leslie Nielsen.
Of course.
Playing it totally straight. There's the running joke of Ted Stryker, who is the pilot who gets called up to help out, who's dealing with the PTSD, explaining his backstory and what happened to him and how he lost his loves and what happened in the war and stuff to various people through the film, and one by one they're killing themselves as we go back from his flashbacks The most hilarious one being the last one before he gets asked. There's a man who's literally just poured a can of gasoline all over himself, has the match in his hand, and Ted's like, oh, I don't know, do you think I can do this? Turning to the guy, and he's like, because he doesn't want to set himself on fire. But there's a great gag with there's a little girl who's really unwell on the flight, and one of the very nice air hostesses gets a guitar and is going to sing a song to her. But hilarity ensues while she's singing this song in the background. What else have we got? You've got the running jokes with the, like I say, with the I picked the wrong week to do this, to do that. The autopilot is a joke all in itself, and when they have to reinflate the autopilot, that's brilliant too.
Yes, I recall that one.
I didn't realise until this time of watching, because he's not actually very good in it, because he's not an actor, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the co-pilots. Okay. Now that's just a name that's in my head, and I don't know why, it's just a name that I know, because it's one of those recognisable names.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's a basketball star.
He was a basketball player back in...
and yeah, you can tell he's not an actor when he's in it for a bit, but he has some quite funny lines. And he's quite amusing in it. But yeah, the thing is, the other reason why I picked it is because it still holds up today. The jokes are not pop culture references that go out of date in 5 minutes, you know? Because I thought about something like Shrek. Have you watched the original Shrek recently? Like in the last 5 years?
No,
maybe?
I would imagine not in the last 5 years. Probably.
It has not dated well,
no.
And it's because it's in the fight sequence that we all loved with Prince Fiona. It does the Matrix bullet time thing, right?
Yeah.
As a reference for the adults.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but
that's dated now.
That's dated now. It doesn't. You're doing the Matrix. Whoop-de-doo. You're doing a film that actually, really, not a lot of people talk about these days in a positive light. Anyway,
well,
because
no, but
the second two sort of trashed any goodwill the first one had built up. I mean, I watched the first one the other day actually, and it's still pissing brilliant.
As I think we've discussed, like they're trying to bring that
more
franchise back and bring.
I don't know how they're going to do that.
I'm curious myself because I don't understand how they can bring back people who are definitively dead.
Yes.
It's not like Anyway, we're diverging from.
If you put the architect in it, I am going to scream.
That's maybe that's
because that's what I realised.
Maybe that's it. But the Matrix trilogy is something that we could do. Because let's face it, I think we both would agree that we enjoy the first one.
I love the first one.
We could tear the shit out of the second two.
I like half of the second one. I defend the second one up to because it's got that. You know what I'm like with practical vis effects and stuff. The car chase sequence on the thing, because they built
the whole
like 40 miles of freeway to play about on, and you can tell it looks so good. And the whole fight on top of the truck, I love the way they managed to do that.
Passing the keymaker around and stuff.
Exactly, and like hanging off the edge, and then the camera flips up, and you're on top looking down of a moving vehicle. Yet a man's flipping up in front of you. Like it still gets me today. So yeah, slight side note. But yeah, the jokes in Airplane haven't dated. They are still as funny as they were in 1980 when it was released, because the reference material is still something we know, and it's still, because it's ripping disaster movies in general, not picking out a specific bit from a pop culture thing that it wants to reference to go, hey look, this will keep the adults entertained. Yeah,
see, now I'm going to move on to mine now, because we're talking about dated. Now, unfortunately, I mean, I put this on the list because I was like, you know what, I remember watching this. A particular person, now this is an actor who, seeing this for the very first time, when I was younger, I was absolutely pissing myself. I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
If it's the one you're talking about, then
you'll know exactly what it is, and that was Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Indeed.
Sadly, having recently rewatched this,
oh no, does it not hold up?
This does not hold up. Like the first one of the first things I put in here is the homophobia and transphobia is absolutely horrendous in this.
Yeah.
You don't realise it now, but it's one of the funniest scenes in there when he kind of twigs about things and then he's suddenly like, and then shouting and stuff like that. But you kind of look back and go, oh fucking hell, that's wrong.
Well, yeah.
In some respects,
it's. I mean, that's the problem we're talking about. These
dated,
the one I'm going to come on to talk about next is. No one should be laughing at it.
No.
But you do, and you should, because actually it's making a good point. But carry on.
No, I mean, however as entertaining as it was, it doesn't necessarily hold up the test of time. But this is a guy, Jim Carrey is fucking phenomenal. He has bags and bags of fucking energy in this film. Literally bags and bags of energy.
It was the beginning of Pete Carey, really.
It was, yeah. I mean, Pete Carey didn't last too long. I mean, until he took his serious tone. Mask, Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah.
And then he kind of did. I mean, Truman Show was kind of his foray into.
Yeah, that was him trying to be a serious actor, which I like that film. But...
yeah, and then he came. Dumb and Dumber as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant.
And again, the Farrelly brothers.
Yes.
I felt I needed a Farrelly brothers in here, but nothing popped out at me apart from Something About Mary, and that made it top 10 maybe, but didn't go top 5.
The crux of this character is he's somebody who doesn't really interact well with humans, people. He interacts better with animals, and just the interplay that he's got, he's rescuing like a dog from somebody's, abusive ex and stuff like this, and how is he rewarded? She doesn't have any money to give him, so she rewards him in sexual favours. Again, could you get away with that in comedy?
I don't know. But we discussed that because it reminded me of that motherfucker through there, who, when he's doing the, we're real friendly around here, we're real friendly! Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, but it's, he walks into his apartment and he's like, shaking the keys, so all of the animals hide and all this kind of stuff, and he walks in, and so I'm like, what's he got? He's got like a skunk. He's got an otter, he's got a penguin, he's got birds, he's got dogs, he's got cats, he's got squirrels, raccoons, whatever. He's got fucking everything, and all of his money basically goes on feeding all of these animals.
Yeah.
And so the crux of the film is that he has to try and find Snowflake, the Miami Dolphins mascot. And as soon as he kind of turns up on scene, on the crime scene, and he's like looking around at everything, and he goes into the tub, or the whatever you would call it, trying to think of the word that you would, the dolphin pit, whatever the fuck it is, where the dolphin would have actually been.
Oh, the tank.
The tank, dolphin tank. Sorry, I was thinking like aquarium tank.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he's fishing around there, and then he's just like, he's looking at stuff and talking as though he's like on Star Trek and stuff like this, completely hamming it up. Yeah.
Doesn't he with his
Yeah.
I'd forgotten
all those little bits, and then he's got all the straight-laced cops over here wondering what the fuck he's doing, and he straight away comes out with a bit of evidence, and he's like, oh well, did you know about this? Mm-hmm. Oh, for fuck's sake, straight away he's proving that he's actually a really good detective, but he doesn't give a fuck about the humans, he gives a fuck about the dolphin. So he's regularly talking to himself, playing the fool. He talks out of his ass cheeks at one point. He's like, hi, talk to my, how are you doing? And all that, and it's just like, what the fuck? Completely ridiculous in front of all police officers and stuff like that. The little things as well, like when he interacts very well with Courtney Cox, in this. It's one of the few roles before she suddenly got into Friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't think of much. I mean, when was this? 94? Did you write down?
I didn't write down.
It's 94.
It sounds like it sounds
which is
right.
Friends started September fall 94 because and then ran for 10 years. So it was around that time that she was just about to go into that.
But yeah, it's just like the completely energetic sex scene in that. He's just like literally shaking and rattling, and then it's just like gives himself like a 2-second break, and then he's back at it again. It's just fucking hilarious. Like I say, it doesn't date all that well when you get to the bit of the reveal later on. I'm not going to say any more than that. But again, the scene where he goes to a mental hospital and he's like, he's got his hair quiffed up this way, and he's wearing a pink tutu and a pair of boxing shorts.
I'm open.
And he's like, I'm open. And then he's just like, Coach, okay, break time. And he just throws himself, and you're just like, what is this? Again, just completely animated, very.
And this is the thing, because a lot of people, I think, particularly the modern generation, may think, Jim Carrey was just over the top, he was too much, and it wasn't about how over the top he was for me. It was the enthusiasm and the energy he put into the performance that just grabbed me and drew me into it, because he was committed. It was full commitment. He wasn't asking for a crash mat to be put down so he could throw himself face first onto the floor. He just fucking threw himself face first onto the floor because that was funny. He didn't need the rest.
The scene where, they're dealing about a break-in, saying, oh yeah, somebody broke in through this, and they heard a screaming, and he's just getting the door, and it's just like,
God, yeah.
And then he just breaks down the whole thing. He's like, well, that couldn't have happened because that happened, and then that happened, and then he's just like, he's actually really, really, really good.
God, I'd forgotten that sliding door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But it's also a film where we got memorable quotes from this. Like, how many people coming out with like a glove?
Oh yeah, like a glove.
Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
All those little things.
God, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's those lines that stick in your head and that's what I say when I was choosing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I thought back to what pops into my head first. Is it this or is it that?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I say, it may not have dated very well, but still very, very, very entertaining.
Yeah. And I think
it's
it's so difficult in the modern day with stuff like that. And I think I don't see that you can go back and judge something from the 70s, 80s, whatever it might be, by 2019 standards, because you have to understand that it just wasn't in place, for better or worse. I'm not arguing that point, whether we should be more careful now or whether we shouldn't be. It's not the point. You cannot judge a 1970s film by 2019 standards, because the standards that were in place in the 70s were different. Yeah. It was something different. Yeah. And that's the point. And like you say, 2004, Shaun of the Dead, every 5 minutes, gay. Yeah. And, we're of that generation. Yes, I had to rework my brain to take gay out of my lexicon. It wasn't because I wanted to be derogatory. No. It was just that's the word that was in my head for when something was a bit crap. And I didn't mean any slight against any race of people. It was just that's the word that was in my head. So I retaught myself, and now I say lame
and
instead.
This is funny because it may come back and foreshadowing sound back where they talk about the F word. Yeah. There's the episode around that, and then there's the association. So it does play out. But anyway, right, over to you for your.
So number two.
Your second.
Number two for me. See, I rewatched this the other day. From 2010, I'm going with Four Lions. So let me spell this out for anyone who's not aware of the film Four Lions. It is a jet black comedy, a satire. I would even go as far as to call it a farce, to be fair. The way, when I was thinking of it, it's like, how could you describe this film to someone? Essentially, what I came up with is, what would happen if the Three Stooges tried to plan a terror attack in the UK?
Okay, yeah.
And that's the closest I can come. And actually, I think that's pretty good.
It's like an accurate assessment, yeah.
It is pretty much
pretty accurate, yeah.
But there you go, there's the plot. So we are following a group of extremists who are in some flat somewhere in a northern town. I don't know. It looks a bit Sheffield's Leeds to me, so that sort of area. I'm not sure where it is. I think it was somewhere in the north because they've all got northern accents, But yeah, they're planning a terror attack, and that doesn't sound very funny. But Jesus Christ, is it? Because it starts with them trying to shoot a propaganda video, and that sequence in itself is enough to sell you on the. If you don't laugh in that first 10 minutes, then stop the film, because you ain't going to find any more laughs anywhere else, because you're obviously not willing to laugh at the subject matter. And the point is that this subject matter is so ridiculous. The concept of it is so ridiculous, and we have this impression. I think his point at the time was, we've got this impression from the media, from the police, from the intelligence authorities, whatever, that these terrorists are very well organised, very well funded, they know exactly what they're doing, and they could hit us at any time. Yeah. And then he kind of goes, well, yeah, but what if they're not all like that? What if actually they're just tin pot idiots who think they can do something and then actually can't? And that's sort of where we go with it. So we got Riz Ahmed's the lead in it. Obviously, I think it was probably the first thing I saw him in, actually, Riz Ahmed. But
yeah, I don't recall seeing him. I mean, it's certainly
he's fantastic in it.
Brought him up.
Arsha Ali is another guy I recognised, because actually I've seen him in Line of Duty, a series of Line of Duty. And there's also again, comments, help me out. The actor who plays Cotton in Line of Duty is in this, but I couldn't remember his name and I haven't had time to IMDb it. So he's in it as well. He's very good. They're led to start with by a white guy who was converted to Islam, and his name's like Assam al-Britani, and it's like, what? Come on. and he's going to all these extremist rallies and saying all this controversial shit. But there's a hilarious bit where he's putting over his controversial views. Someone just shuts him down and contradicts him, and he manages to fight his way out of it. He's like Donald Trump. Like, he just, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't say that. You're wrong. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Because there's that bit in foreshadowing. There's a bit in South Park where Donald Trump's trying to teach Randy how to. Mr. Garrison's trying to teach Randy how to get out of a situation. And it's like that.
Just basically argue about, no, I fucking didn't. What the fuck are you saying?
I didn't do that. You're wrong.
Yeah.
I think my favourite sequence in it is there's a bit where they, and I will do this one because I think you can probably do it justice on camera. But so apologies, audio viewers, you won't get the audio viewers. No, that doesn't work. Audio listeners, you won't get the benefit of this. But you know, like we say, head over to the YouTube channel and actually have a look at the YouTube version. I don't know why I'm looking at this. I should be looking at that.
Yeah, you do keep looking at that.
Yeah, I know, because I'm used to looking at the microphone while we're talking. I'm not used to that thing being there. So anyway, they haven't. If they've been taught by this convert the anti-surveillance face, so that you don't get caught on camera. So they're just walking around, taking masses of chemicals from the back of a van into some pokey flat upstairs doing this. And Riz Ahmed sees them, he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh yeah, he said it was the anti-surveillance face so we don't get caught on camera. He's like, fuck's sake, stop doing that, you fucking idiots. Oh, there's a character who essentially doesn't want to die. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to commit suicide. So he's trying to train crows. Fit crows with suicide vests, and then train crows to fly into a building. That's fucking brilliant as well. And then flipping rubber dinghy rapids. That's all I'm going to say, because that runs throughout the whole thing. Flipping rubber dinghy rapids. Fucking brilliant. But yeah, so this film is by Chris Morris, which is why I love it, I think, because Chris Morris, for anyone that doesn't know, he was the man behind Brass Eye, Day to Day, Nathan Barley, Jam, which was a really, really dark sketch show.
I hated Nathan Barley. I never liked Nathan Barley.
You know what I realised the other day? Yeah. Nathan Barley was predicting the hipster movement. If you look at what they're doing, they're taking the piss out of what we would consider the hipster movement nowadays. And I know why you struggled with it, and I can see why a lot of people struggle with it, because it was always very dark, very nasty, and taking the worst possible look at something. And the lead character, Nathan Barley, was a twat.
Yeah, but I also
fucking hated him.
Hated the actor as well. I know that sounds weird, but I fucking
totally
hated the actor. I really
totally
didn't enjoy it.
I went with it because I was able to deal with it because he's the person they're taking the piss out of. So although he's the lead, he's the one we're mocking the whole way through this. He's the one we're laughing at, not with, when he's doing this stuff. So I was able to go with it. But yeah, Jam really affected me when I saw some of that. There's some specific sequences I remember from that, and there's one where a guy's outside a woman's house, and they do a spin on the whole boombox over your head playing a song thing, and he's trying to win her back, and he's got a wood chipper outside her house, outside her front window. He goes, I love you so much, I'm going to do this, and he jumps into the wood chipper, gets chopped up and splattered all over her front window. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But in my mind, he's a fucking genius, and he's just, his most recent film is another thing like Four Lions, looking at the case of it takes inspiration from the case of the Liberty City 7 in America, which was a case where essentially it was discovered that the CIA or FBI, I can't remember, whichever one works in the homeland, so I know one of them's international and one of them works on home soil.
Yeah.
I think the CIA, I don't think the CIA can operate on American soil.
No,
it operates
the
outside.
FBI
So
is federal,
So they realised that the FBI are essentially paying people money to make them look like terrorists so that they can then shut them down, because the FBI realised it was far easier to create their own homegrown terrorists from what are essentially 5-man cults who don't really know what the fuck they're doing and talking bollocks, and then arrest them for being terrorists after you've fitted them up for it. And there was this whole case, Liberty City 7. Go and check that out if you're interested, because it is quite an interesting story to see. But yeah, he very much likes doing this stuff. He was also the boss in the IT Crowd for a couple of seasons as well. He was very funny in that. But yeah, I don't want to say too much more, because it is absolutely hilarious the way the whole thing plays out. They're discussing where they're gonna... There's a bit where they're discussing where they're gonna bomb, and the British convert, the English white convert says, let's bomb a mosque because it will make everyone rise up.
Mm-hmm.
And Riz Ahmed's like, but that's like getting in the ring with a boxer and then just punching yourself in the face, isn't it? He's like, you're going to punch yourself in the face. Punch yourself in the face. Go on, punch yourself in the fucking face. Because that's what you're doing. You're punching yourself in the... And just goes on at him for a bit. And there's a hilarious sequence with that. One of them says boots. It's like boots. Or a kebab shop.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. But these things then play through the episode. Play through the film and then get resolved in the end. But yeah, Four Lions, 2010, Chris Morris. Go and watch it. It's something else. If you like dark satire, and it's really good, I've been forgetting actually. I've got the good lady teacher her indoors stuff, her comments. I asked her about Four Lions. I think that was probably her favourite. She laughed the most through that.
Yeah.
She said I liked that. It was really funny, but sad at the same time. And it is quite sad by the end. Yeah, she had a note about Airplane, which I didn't react to. We watched, when we first got together, I showed her Naked Gun, because I was like, oh, you've got to watch Naked Gun, because it's fucking brilliant. So she was just waiting for Leslie Nielsen to come in and do the funny, basically, in Airplane, and obviously he's not quite front and centre as much.
Yeah.
So I don't think that one played as well. She did have a comment on the my next one, but I'll save that for the next one.
Okay.
But yeah, Four Lions, 2010, Chris Morris, go and watch it.
Okay. So my number 2 is a Kevin Smith film, which it was hard to debate which of the Kevin Smith films, but this one still for me shines as the best of the bunch for Kevin Smith, which is Dogma.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, when you look at the cast of this fucking film, it's ridiculous. I mean, it reunites him with Affleck, Jason Lee, George Carlin. I think this is the first film that George Carlin's in.
I can't think.
He's in Jersey Girl later down the line,
okay.
so that's why I say that. Obviously, Jason Mewes returns as Jay, but you've also got Matt Damon in there, Alan Rickman, Chris Rock, Salma Hayek, Linda Fiorentino. I mean, what a fucking cast!
Yeah, it is an incredible cast.
This for me was just fucking brilliant. I mean, one of the first intros to the film. There's a little intro, and then it kind of cuts to Matt Damon talking to a nun about God and religion and life and stuff like that, and he's talking about everything that has to do with God. And this is an angel who's actually been in the presence of God. He's spoken to him personally, as Affleck's character puts it. And and then he's just like, and then he's just talking about the Catholic Church, and he's just like, basically you've just got God waving a finger saying, do it, or I'll fucking spank you. Yeah. And you're just like, and she's just like, oh my God, what have I done with my life? And then she ups off, and he's just like, take all that charity money, go and buy yourself a dress, go and find a man, or go and find a woman, just go and find something. And then it's just like, I just love fucking with the clergy. And I'm just like, this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just walking away, and they're just like, okay, fine, we're gonna, they've been given a news article, they're gonna find their way back into heaven. They've been ousted for heaven, we find out a little bit later why. So it then cuts to Linda Fiorentino's character, Bethany Sloan, who works in an abortion clinic, who's clearly gone through some shit in her life. She's been divorced, she can't have babies and stuff like this. So it's pretty harsh. And then so she's at home one night just questioning the validity of her own faith. Why do I go to church anymore? Now I was raised Catholic, so I can see a little bit more in this film than we've discussed religion.
No, I was brought up C of E, but I.
Yeah, so I mean, Roman Catholic is a little bit different, a little bit more harsher.
I didn't go to church really, apart from Harvest.
So she's debating the validity of her faith, and then suddenly the Metatron appears in her room in the middle of the night as a flaming fucking, and then she gets out a fire extinguisher and puts him out, and he's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's Alan Rickman. I mean, to be fair, I look at this and I just think this is still hands down, one of Alan Rickman's best roles. And what I loved was, obviously Kevin Smith and him got on very, very well making this film. And I love that when Alan Rickman passed away, Kevin Smith threw up a photo on his Instagram, and it's basically Alan Rickman with kind of his pants around his ankles, because obviously he's got no dick. And he's just literally laughing at himself with this prosthetic thing, and he just said, Alan Rickman, every time he just looked at it and he was just wetting himself at this, I was like, that's just fucking brilliant. Absolutely hilarious. Trying to explain who he is. He's the voice of God, and he's like, fucking if a film's not been made about you, Jesus, no
Yeah,
people
no one
want to know. So it's that, and then she's told, okay, right, you know, I need you to go on this mission, stop a couple of angels getting into heaven. You'll have a bit of help. A couple of prophets will help you. And then eventually she's introduced to Jay and Silent Bob, who, for those of you who don't know, Jay and Silent Bob are recurring characters in Kevin Smith films. Kevin Smith plays Silent Bob. Mm-hmm. Jason Mewes does not shut the fuck up in this thing, and rightfully so, because he's hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I think that's one where because I struggle with Mewes at times, particularly in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But I think that's because he was dealing with personal demons at the time,
Yes,
so I
very
don't think
much
he was
so.
entirely
Yeah.
there. But yeah, that's the one that he's my favourite in, because like you say, he's just on it the whole time. He's got the patter down for that one.
So she meets up with Jay and Silent Bob, and they drop in the word prophet, and she's like, fuck, so it's these guys, already being told that one of them's very silent and the other one will talk a lot. And so they agree, yeah, okay, we'll go on a trip to New Jersey with you, after they tell her the reason why they're where they are, because they're like, yeah, we were looking for Sherman in Illinois. Why? Because of John fucking Hughes. Doesn't fucking exist, does it? And it's just that play, and talking about that, and saying, it's nothing worse than watching a fat guy weep, and all that kind of shit, just berating each other. So they're on their journey. Out of the sky pops the 13th apostle, Rufus.
Chris Rock, isn't it?
Chris Rock has just suddenly drops from the sky.
He's fucking brilliant.
And that's it. And he's just like, hey, yeah, of course, I'm not dead. I'm not the undead. I'm just here. And he's just like, fucking hell, it's just hilarious. Straight off the bat, fucking hilarious. Giving the explanation as to, well, yeah, you're the last sign because, Mary and Joseph, like, what, do you think he wasn't going to get fucking laid? Like, that suddenly the Bible goes from this age to this age. So what the fuck? Yeah, I'm the 13th apostle. And it just gives this whole, description about things. What was this? Hilarious. So they're talking at a movies, so they're getting some food with movies.
Thank you.
Later.
I couldn't remember the name of the restaurant they go to.
The restaurant they go to, and it's hilarious because they're sitting there and he's talking, and Bethany gets a bit pissed off and walks off, and he's just like, all right, so if you know all this and you're watching people, tell me something that nobody else knows. You masturbate more than anybody on the planet. Tell me something that I don't know. Yeah. When you do it, you're thinking about guys, and then Bob's just like, not all the time, man. That was just fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
absolutely fucking hilarious. So this carries on. So they go off. They meet Serendipity, Salma Hayek in a strip club, and there's the whole scene there. The Golgotha demon, the shit demon, which they managed to take out with an Oodas out spray.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just like, you've destroyed a shit demon. How? With Oodas out fucking air freshener. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Jason Lee is very good in this for what he is, but again, it's Jason Lee. I fucking love Jason Lee. Yeah, he could be very much more in this, but as the demon Azrael, he's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Refuses to give away his plan because, what is he, a fucking James Bond villain?
Yeah, that's it.
Literally, I'm not going to spell it out for you kind of stuff. There's the train scene where they're getting drunk, they meet Loki and Bartleby, on the train, and then eventually they figure some stuff out, and Bob throws him off the train, and it's just like very straight-laced, just leans against the wall, lights up a cig, looks at the guy and says like, no ticket. Like one of the few things that he comes out with. Again, just the little nuances. Then we get to the final act, and they're trying to save the world from annihilation, stopping them from going through the archway. Basically, Matt Damon by this point is just like, I don't know, Ben Affleck is just on one at this point, just wants to kill everybody, picking people up and just throwing them.
There's a sequence in like an executive office, isn't there, where they
yeah. So they go to that, because that's it. And Matt Damon's like, these guys who control Mubi, I want to get a bit of payback on them. So they go to the boardroom and they walk around the table, and it's just like, okay, these are your individual demons. Then whispers in one guy's ear, he's like, he's your son, you sick fuck. So you have no idea, but you can only speculate. And then they end up killing everybody, bar one person. She's lived a good life.
Yeah, that's it.
And
I love at the time, when you think back now, like, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, they were serious actors at this point. Like, I know they'd worked with Kate Smith before and stuff, and they were obviously buddies and all that. But they were serious.
They come off of like.
And like you say, you've got him walking, exactly, and you've got him walking around going to someone's ear, he's your son, you sick
Yeah.
And it's Matt Damon. It's like, what? What are you doing?
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Foreshadowing. So eventually, get to the final act and they, realise what they need to do. Still, Armageddon is here. Bethany's agreed to fuck Jay if the end
that's
comes.
right.
And that's it. He's pulling down his pants and she's just like, what? You said you'd fuck me?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then everything kicks off. Not going to say too much. Still encourage everybody to watch it. But we suddenly learn God is a woman. What if God was one of us?
Indeed.
God was one of us, and who turns up? Alanis Morissette. And that is just the perfect person that Kevin Smith got to play God. And again, a little bit of interplay there, like Alan Rickman, just gets a little bit of shit covered on him, and he's like, for fuck's sake, and he uses God's robes to scrub himself off. Hilarious. And then Jason Mewes is just like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck happened to that guy? Said, why were you hugging me?
Yeah.
And then God just kisses him on the cheek, and he passes out. Yeah. Brilliant. But for me, the bit, I've said this before, like, there's a lot of things in this film from a religious aspect as well as comedic, but it's the line that Chris Rock comes out with. I'm going to end on that, which is, I think it's better to have ideas. You can change an idea, changing a belief is a lot trickier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
therein lies the
agree.
problem with religion.
Yeah.
What a nice note. So,
number one.
Number one for me, and I don't know whether this would be your number one, but it is my number one. And
I think
obviously, as we usually do, if we agree on one, we save it till the end and then discuss it. So here we go. So the number one for me, like say, and what we're going to discuss together is Team America: World Police from 2004. Mm-hmm. So this is a fantastic satire. Essentially mocking the US at the sort of the time around here, which was post Gulf War II, pretty sure, and was around the time when Hans Blix, yes, that was his name.
Hans Blix.
Yeah, because he calls him Briggs.
Yeah,
because they're doing the L to R thing. During the GW times, it would have been, and Hans Blix was supposed to be going and looking for Saddam's WMDs and all that. So they basically sub out Saddam Hussein for Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-il is planning terrorist attacks all over the world, and Team America, because, America fuck yeah, they're the best thing ever, and they can just go in there and sort everything out for them. It's mocking the American thing at the time, which was, we can keep the whole world in check. Yeah. You got a problem, you call America. We'll send the army in, and it's like, okay, but we don't want you.
And then within the first, 5-10 minutes, they've destroyed half of Paris, they've destroyed the Eiffel Tower, they've destroyed the Champs-Elysees, they've destroyed the Louvre, and they're just like, yeah, we win, one for the good guys.
Yeah, exactly, and all the French people in the back go, what the fuck have you done, you fucking dickheads?
Yeah.
Like, you just being twats.
Yeah.
This is from Trey Parker, Matt Stone, of South Park fame, obviously, Basketball, Orgasmo, and it's all done with marionettes.
Yes.
A la Thunderbirds of the
fantastic.
olden times, not new Thunderbirds.
It's so good though.
Like,
rewatching this, how detailed, how amazing this shit looks.
But I still love that occasionally you can see the wires.
Yeah, that's the parody of it. Yeah.
Where they're pointing at things.
Yeah.
And they're not pointing anywhere. It's like over here, like there, and it's like what were you looking at? And they're just not pointing at the thing that they're supposed to be pointing at because of the wires and the strings and stuff. It leads to a fucking hilarious sex scene.
That was it. I was just like, the most ridiculous puppet sex scene ever.
And it also pokes fun at all the celebrities at the time that were part of the Screen Actors Guild, headed by Alec Baldwin, who were trying to get their voices into
the fags.
The thing. Exactly. Well, it was SAG in the real world. They change it to the Film Actors Guild so that they are fags. Because then later on there's, good going, fag. You did a nice job, fag.
And one of those fags just happens to be Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Because everyone else can talk, apart from Matt Damon, who just says, Matt Damon. I love the computer intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay, man, this is what we're gonna do. It sounds like a surfer dude. But then there's the bit later on where it's all gone wrong. And Spottiswoode, who's the sort of chief of this team, is going, that was bad intelligence. That was very bad intelligence. And he's like, I'm sorry. It's funny what you were saying about that opening sequence as well. The more you watch it, and they did this deliberately because I do know a bit of the behind the scenes stuff with it, like the sets. What they did was showed us that first bit is Paris, yeah? We know it's Paris because the Eiffel Tower, like you said, Eiffel Tower, Champs-Élysées, the Louvre, all that. They're not all that close to each other.
No.
In real life.
Yeah, of course.
But what they wanted to do was create the places with the American perception of these places.
I see.
So as far as the Americans are concerned, that's all within walking distance of each other in Paris, it's fine. Whereas it's not, as we know. So they designed the set that showed everything being destroyed, so all the landmarks could get destroyed, because otherwise the Yanks don't know what it is, so they're poking fun at themselves.
And then they show the American landmarks as full-size, real... Okay, right now...
And then when you go to Egypt, again, the Sphinx, the Great Pyramids, the market statues, they're all within the same thing.
Yeah.
And again, the sets, I remember watching a little background thing on, in Egypt, like basically they used real-life items to make the sets. So in Egypt, the palm tree leaves are actually $1 bills. And if you pause it and look, you can occasionally see the little markations. So they used real stuff to then change and make into the buildings for things. I mean, obviously that leads to the hilarious signal of being in trouble, which, apologies, audio listeners, I'm flailing my hands about in the air. Go and watch the YouTube version if you want to see what I'm doing. But that is so funny, that little sequence. And but they're just convinced of their own brilliance the whole time. So the plot of this is that they need, one of their main guys dies, they want to put someone undercover in the terrorist cell, so they need an actor. So they go and get Gary, because he's the best actor, and he's in, oh Christ, what is it? It's a piss take of Rent.
Yeah, it's...
Lease.
Lease.
Is it Lease?
Lease,
the musical. And they're doing AIDS.
Oh god, that was it. Like as soon as you suddenly start the AIDS song, I'm like, fuck, I forgot about this as well.
And then, oh god, what's the other song? Pearl Harbor sucked, and I miss you. It's so funny. So like Cuba Gooding needed a bigger part. He's way better than Ben Affleck. And this is the song that's going on in the background. And then in the foreground, what we've got happening is a puppet-sized puppet on a puppet-sized bike, having a montage of driving around to places in the US that make him feel something. And they're obviously all full size. Yeah. And there's even a mistake where the bike falls over. And the puppet just stacks it, and they've left that in because it's
fucking
just
hilarious.
Funny. God, there's so much in it. My favourite bit from all of it is the crux of the argument at the end. You've got dicks, you've got pussies, and you've got assholes. Yeah, you've got the Americans are dicks because they just want to fuck everything up.
Yeah,
they just want to fuck. The pussies don't like getting fucked, and they want to stop everything that's good. They want to stop the dicks because the dicks fuck them, so they don't like it. And then you've got the assholes like Kim Jong-il who just want to shit all over everything. And it's just that way they put it together at the end, which I won't, because I won't do the line justice, but the bit at the end where he explains and puts the three things together in
perfect synchronicity.
It's typical South Park, or it's typical Trey and Matt, is that they are making bang on the right point. They are saying, yes, the Screen Actors Guild are pussies, and the Americans are a bunch of fucking dicks. But if it wasn't for the Americans fucking the assholes, the pussies would be covered in shit. So you need some dicks. You need some dicks to fuck the assholes. Because as well as fucking pussies, they do fuck assholes.
Now, I know that like one of their films, like they try to fit in as many expletives as possible. Is that what you're trying to do with this particular?
No, not this particular.
Oh, okay, that's
just
fine.
Because we
I don't know whether like Wayne's going to start counting these and then start like
what,
finding
counter in the bottom
that's
corner
it.
Or something.
Little counter. How many times has people
How many
swear
fucks? Yeah, okay. Well, you said the worst one so far, so it's okay. I'm alright. I'm still behind you. So yeah, that metaphor, like I say, they're making exactly the right point. They just use hilarious, almost childish terminology to describe it, but it makes perfect fucking sense, and it's so clever. And this is what annoys me a little bit about them, because I think people just go, yeah, but you're just doing toilet humour, you're being stupid.
Yeah, as we discussed before, And
You've got to push past that. You've got to look past how they're saying it and look at what they're saying. Because if you're not listening to what they're saying, regardless of the terminology they're using, then you're not going to get the point. And their point is always, I feel, bang on.
Yeah, no, most definitely. It's one of those ones where, as with South Park episodes, foreshadowing, this is one of those movies which actually you go back and watch that now and you just laugh and you go, okay, it may not be Kim Jong-il, it's Kim Jong-un now.
Yeah.
But the scenario is still the same.
That's it. You can still fit, and that's why I don't like, because it has dated. Who knows?
Yes, it has.
Who knows who Hans Blix is these days?
No idea.
Not a fucking clue, unless you knew at the time that he was the UN man trying to find the WMDs.
Again, that was just because it's the way the media was.
Like you say, the three main parts of it, you can put, like you say, different people from the modern day into those three roles, and you still get the same result. So, yeah, I think it holds up really well, and it's probably my favourite comedy of all time. As far as The Good Lady Teacher Her Indoors, because we watched that one quite early in our relationship as well, because she said she was a comedy film fan, and so I was like, oh, well, these are my favourite, some of my favourites, we've got to watch these. So we watched that, and her exact line was, ooh, that one was a long time ago, wasn't it? I still remember the sex scene. I just like, okay, fair enough.
That's
if that's the quote you want me to go
that's
with.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, that one, I know she liked that one as well. That one tickled her funny bone, it really did. And like I say, it does me. It's Kim Jong-il is a cockroach at the end as well.
It is. It's just it's just so fucking hilarious. So hilarious.
Funny.
So hilarious.
Ah, you have big balls. I love your balls. The Chechnyan terrorist. Oh dear. Go on. Have you got any more to say?
No, I've got nothing more to say. I think
I'm sorry, I've kind of railroaded that one, but
no, that's quite all right. That's absolutely fine.
I love that film.
No, that's fine. But before we end, it's a lovely T-shirt you've got on.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up a little bit. I don't know whether I will be seen, but I'm going to do this. Oh. See, Fluffy would be showing you his full T-shirt, but we had pizza before this, and he's put pizza down it. I'm a grown man. I can find my mouth. Look at this. If you like this, let us know. We only have 2 at the minute, because they're prototypes.
Well,
but if you like the idea,
one,
and you're interested, get in touch. Comments are down there, I think, somewhere. Down here somewhere.
Again, please don't point at your penis.
Normally, I'm not pointing at my penis, point at the comment section. So the comments are down there, or leave us a comment on your platform of choice, or go to facebook.com/the-screenmasters. At the top there, you will find a link to all the places you can find us, a link to the Patreon, a link to the Byte Back Media Network YouTube page, where you can find this lovely podcast in a video format, should you decide to come and join us. So, thank you very much for listening, stroke watching, if you have been. I have been Bath.
I've been Fluff.
And this has been Screenmasters.